The hallway was alive with sound. Lockers slamming shut, sneakers squeaking on polished tiles, bursts of laughter bouncing between walls. It was the kind of mid-morning chaos that made newcomers instantly feel out of place. Arya threaded her way through the crowd with her books hugged tight to her chest, her eyes fixed on the floor. She was new, brand new. Second day at this school, and already she'd figured out how fast people judged. Everyone else had their groups, their inside jokes, their shared histories carved into the walls of this place. She was the outsider, invisible to some, glaringly obvious to others. She adjusted the strap of her backpack and tried to move quickly, but her quiet presence seemed to attract exactly the kind of attention she didn't want. Leaning against the lockers at the end of the hall were 4 boys. The kind you recognized instantly. Loud, confident, smug in the way only people who never faced consequences could be. They weren't the biggest in size, but their reputation filled the halls more than their voices ever could. Everyone knew them, the self-proclaimed kings of the school. And unfortunately, Arya had walked right into their path. "Hey, new girl," one of them called, his tone laced with mockery. He stepped forward, blocking her way. He was tall, wiry, with a permanent smirk that screamed trouble. His name, whispered by the other students, was Chase. Arya stopped, her gaze still down. "Excuse me," she said softly, hoping he'd just move. But Chase grinned wider. "Whoa, she talks." His friends snickered behind him. "Where you rushing off to? Scared you'll get lost? Need a babysitter?" The group laughed, the sound loud enough to draw attention from others nearby. Heads began turning. Students slowed down, sensing something was about to happen. Arya's grip on her books tightened, but she didn't respond. She simply stepped to the side to walk past. Another boy, broader and more aggressive, stepped into her path this time. His name was Marcus. "Nah, don't ignore us. That's rude." He reached out and tapped one of her books with the tip of his finger, sending it tumbling from her arms. The book hit the floor with a loud smack. The crowd that had been gathering let out a collective murmur. Arya's eyes followed the book to the ground, but she didn't bend down to pick it up. Not yet. She let out a slow breath. Marcus grinned, taking her silence as a win. What, too shy to fight back? He glanced at his friends, who chuckled and elbowed each other. "Pick it up for her, Marcus," one of them mocked. "Or maybe she likes crawling on the floor." Arya finally lifted her gaze. Her eyes met Marcus's, calm, steady, unflinching. Her voice, when she spoke, was low but clear. "You really don't want to do this?" That stopped them for half a second. Not because of the words themselves, but because of the way she said them, without fear, without anger. Just a statement, a fact. Then Chase burst out laughing. "Oh man, did you hear that? She's threatening us. The new girl thinks she's tough." He turned toward the growing crowd. "Hey, everyone, watch this." Arya's jaw tightened, but she didn't move. The hallway felt suddenly heavier, all eyes locked on her. Marcus leaned closer, his face inches from hers. "What are you gonna do, huh? Stare us to death?" He reached out, intending to shove her shoulder. And that's when everything shifted. In one fluid motion, too fast for most to follow, Arya's hand shot up. She grabbed Marcus's wrist, twisted it sharply, and spun him toward the lockers. His body slammed against the metal with a clang, his face twisting in pain. A shocked cry tore from his throat as his friends froze. The laughter in the hallway died instantly. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Marcus struggled, but Arya's grip was like iron. She pinned his arm high behind his back, forcing him to bend awkwardly against the locker door. He hissed in pain. "Ah, what the hell? Let go." She leaned closer, her expression unreadable. "I told you," she said quietly, "you don't want this." The second boy, Jason, stepped forward with a scowl. "Hey, get off him." He lunged toward her, but Arya moved again, swift, precise. She sidestepped, hooked her foot behind his ankle, and pushed lightly. Jason toppled forward, arms flailing as he crashed to the floor with a heavy thud. His friends gasped in disbelief. Jason groaned, clutching his knee. What was that?" The third boy, smaller but more hot-headed, froze in place. He looked from Jason on the ground to Marcus pinned against the locker, then back at Arya. His bravado crumbled instantly. "Ah," he stammered, raising his hands. Hey, look, we were just kidding." "All right, just messing around." The crowd erupted in whispers. Phones were out now, recording. Students exchanged wide-eyed looks, whispering about how this quiet, new girl just dismantled the school bullies in seconds. Arya glanced at Chase, who hadn't moved yet. His smirk was gone, replaced by something else, confusion, maybe even fear. "You gonna try too?" she asked, her tone still calm. Chase's mouth opened, then closed. He shook his head quickly. "And nah, we're cool, totally cool." Arya released Marcus's arm at last, and he staggered back, cradling it, his face red with pain and humiliation. Jason scrambled to his feet, glaring at her but not daring to come closer. Arya bent down, picked up her fallen book, and straightened. She looked at the group, then at the crowd, her expression as calm as when this all began. "Next time," she said evenly, her voice carrying through the silence, "think twice before you pick on someone you don't know." No one dared respond. The bullies shuffled backward, muttering under their breaths, but their swagger was gone. Their reputations, shaken. Arya adjusted her backpack strap and walked forward. The crowd parted instinctively, giving her a clear path down the hall. Some students whispered in awe, others in disbelief, but no one laughed anymore. As she walked, she felt the weight of all those eyes on her, but she didn't speed up. She didn't run. She just moved with the same steady calm, her silence louder than any threat she could have made. Behind her, Marcus hissed, "This isn't over," but his voice cracked halfway through, betraying his fear. His friends didn't even back him up. They just stood there, shaken. Arya didn't turn back. By the time she reached the end of the hallway and pushed open the classroom door, the story had already started spreading. Within minutes, whispers of, "Did you see what she did?" and "She took them down like nothing," rippled through every corner of the school. And all Arya wanted was to blend in, to disappear into the background. But she knew, as she took her seat in the classroom and felt the stares from her classmates, that any chance of staying unnoticed was gone. What she didn't know, at least not yet, was that this was only the beginning. The bullies weren't going to forget what happened. And neither was anyone else. The new girl wasn't just new anymore. She was the girl who made the kings of the school beg. And that reputation was going to change everything. By lunchtime, the school was buzzing like a shaken beehive. Every hallway carried the same whispers, the same retelling of what had happened that morning. The story grew with every voice. Some said she'd flipped Marcus into the lockers so hard that the dent was still there. Others claimed she'd knocked Jason out cold with a single move. By the time it reached the cafeteria, Arya had practically been recast as a martial arts superhero who could level anyone with one hand tied behind her back. Arya, for her part, didn't sit at the center of it. She sat at the edge of the cafeteria, her tray untouched, her posture calm but closed off. She could feel the stares, sideways glances from tables of athletes, cheerleaders whispering behind their hands, freshmen looking at her like she was some kind of legend. Even the teachers, walking by, gave her that second glance, the kind that wasn't sure if she was trouble or protection. The bullies she'd humiliated kept their distance. Marcus had his arm in a makeshift sling of bandages from the nurse's office, and though he tried to laugh with his friends as if nothing had happened, his eyes darted to Arya's table every few minutes, filled with a mix of anger and something else, fear. Jason limped slightly as he carried his tray, his friends pretending not to notice. And Chase, the ringleader, wasn't smirking anymore. He was quiet, subdued, sitting at a different table than usual. But humiliation burns hotter than fear, and humiliation in front of the entire school can turn into something darker. Arya sat, sipping her water, knowing exactly what was happening without needing to hear the whispers. This wasn't her first time being the new girl. And it wasn't her first time dealing with bullies who mistook quietness for weakness. She had learned the hard way, over years of moving from place to place, that standing her ground always left her exposed. And yet, she couldn't bring herself to regret what she did. "Is it true?" The voice startled her. She turned slightly to see a girl with curly dark hair and glasses standing by her table, clutching a lunch tray. She looked nervous but curious. "True?" Arya asked, her tone even. "That you know." The girl mimed some kind of karate chop, awkward and exaggerated. "Took down Marcus and Jason like, super fast." Arya's lips quirked faintly. "Something like that." The girl grinned, emboldened. "That was amazing. People like them needed it. They've been making everyone miserable for years." She glanced around nervously before adding, "Mind if I sit with you?" Arya hesitated. A part of her wanted to say no, to keep her distance, to avoid connections that could complicate things. But the hopeful look in the girl's eyes reminded her of something, her own younger self, always wishing for someone to stand up for her. "Sure," Arya said quietly. The girl beamed and sat down. "I'm Lily," she introduced herself. "And you're Arya, right? The whole school knows your name now." Arya sighed softly. "Great." Lily laughed. "Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. It's just, you made history today." Arya shook her head, poking at her food. "That wasn't history. That was survival." Lily tilted her head, curious, but before she could ask more, a sudden hush fell over the cafeteria. Marcus was standing, tray pushed aside, glaring at Arya's table. His friends urged him to sit down, but he shoved them away. "You think you're tough," he called across the room, his voice echoing against the walls. "That little stunt this morning, you think it means you own this place?" The cafeteria held its breath. All eyes turned to Arya. She didn't answer, didn't even look up at him. She calmly lifted her water glass and took a sip. The silence stretched until Marcus slammed his fist on the table. "This isn't over. You'll regret it." Teachers finally intervened, barking at him to sit down, to calm himself. He obeyed, but not without locking eyes with Arya one last time, the promise of revenge burning in his glare. Lily leaned closer to Arya, whispering, "They're not going to let this go. You know that, right?" Arya nodded slightly. "I know. After school, the tension thickened. Arya walked home alone, choosing the long route rather than the bus. The streets were quieter, but she couldn't shake the sense of being followed. A shadow trailed hers at a distance. She turned a corner and stopped, leaning against a street lamp. "You can come out," she said softly. Lily emerged from behind a tree, sheepish. "You noticed." Arya's brow arched. "Why are you following me?" "I wasn't." "Okay, maybe I was. But just because." Lily fidgeted. "They're planning something. I overheard Marcus after school. He and his guys, he wants to catch you off guard. Like, corner you. They're not done." Arya exhaled through her nose, unsurprised. "Bullies never are. But aren't you worried?" Lily pressed. "It's not just Marcus. He's got friends. Older kids. Football guys. He said he's going to make an example out of you." Arya looked at her, her gaze steady. "Worried? No. Tired? Yes." Lily blinked, not understanding. Arya adjusted her bag. "You want to know why I could do what I did today? Why I didn't freeze like everyone expected me to?" Lily nodded eagerly. "My dad," Arya began, her voice quieter now, tinged with something deeper. "He's a combat trainer. Special forces, retired. He raised me like a soldier. Every morning before school, drills. Every evening, training. I learned to fight before I learned to ride a bike. It wasn't a choice. It was survival. His way of making sure I'd never be helpless. Not after what happened to my mom." Lily's eyes widened. "Your mom?" Arya's lips pressed into a thin line. "She was attacked. Wrong place, wrong time. My dad swore it would never happen to me. So he made me ready." The silence between them stretched, heavy and raw. "That's why I don't scare easily," Arya finished. "And why Marcus has no idea what he's asking for." Lily swallowed, suddenly seeing Arya not as a mysterious heroine, but as someone forged in something much harsher than schoolyard drama. "Still," Arya added softly, "I didn't come here to fight. I came here to start over. To blend in. But people like Marcus, they don't allow peace." That night, Marcus and his friends gathered in the empty lot behind the gym. They weren't laughing. Their pride was wounded, their image shattered. "She embarrassed us in front of everyone," Marcus growled, pacing. "We can't let that stand." Jason rubbed his knee, still sore. "Man, I don't know. Did you see her? She's not normal." "Exactly," Marcus snapped. "That's why we need backup. My cousin plays varsity. He and his guys can help. Tomorrow after school, we wait for her. No crowd this time. Just us and her." The others exchanged uneasy looks, but Marcus's fury was contagious. They nodded reluctantly. What none of them realized was that someone had been listening. From behind the bleachers, Lily crouched, heart pounding. She clutched her phone, recording every word. Arya needed to know. The next day, the tension was unbearable. Whispers of a rematch spread through the halls. Students glanced at Arya like she was a storm cloud about to break. At lunch, Lily slid into the seat beside her, eyes wide. They're planning to jump you. After school. Behind the gym. Marcus, Jason, Chase, plus his cousin and the football guys. Arya didn't look surprised. She simply finished her sandwich and set it down. Then I'll be ready. Lily grabbed her arm, panicked. You don't understand. There'll be at least 6 of them. Maybe more. You can't fight all of them. Arya's gaze was steady, but there was a flicker of something in her eyes, something hardened by years of training. I don't want to fight them. But if they leave me no choice. Her words trailed off, heavy with unspoken warning. The cafeteria hummed with nervous anticipation. Everyone knew something was coming. Everyone wanted to see what would happen when Marcus tried again. What they didn't realize was that this time, the outcome would change everything, not just for Marcus and his friends, but for Arya's place in this school. Because while the first mistake the bullies made was underestimating her, the second mistake would be thinking numbers could save them. And Arya was about to prove that some battles, once chosen, can never be won.